Hello, everyone. It is a beautiful Friday night, a great night for a live stream and a chance to talk with you and another fantastic author from the Mountain Dale Press team. And we're gonna come in here and start hot tonight. So if you have questions, bring it on. Just throw them into the comments, and we're gonna talk tonight about a new complete series with Mountain Dale Press, which is in the series name is the Metier Apocalypse. And this book is Infused in Justice. Without further ado, please welcome Frank Albelo. All right. Welcome, buddy. All right. Welcome. Hey, dude, it has been awesome on my end working with you for this series. 6 books now, man. That's wild, right?
Oh, I didn't see the end, but here we are. It was a whole process.
Oh yeah, man. It was great. It was, I mean, I can tell you it was fun on my end working with you. Everything from just shooting character ideas around and story ideas to playing water, like pool basketball at some of the retreats and conferences we get a chance to go to. So yeah, it's been a heck of a ride so far, man.
Oh yeah. I mean, coming into it for, I think it's been 2 years since the first one was published, and it was nonstop, and I mean it was very exciting because it was a very, compared to my previous experience publishing, is like, it's very good for me to have goals and people to bounce ideas off of, because I'm very pantsy as far as my writing is, but it helped me really hit the curve that I wanted to hit with the series, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it was great, man. So 6 books. Have you how do you feel about like that, like as an ending point? Was it a great feeling to like cut the series? Was it a really hard thing to do, or like somewhere in between?
Yeah, I mean there was a lot of emotions for me when I finished it. There was the first one was like, oh my God, I'm done, and then I was just kind of like stunned. I was like, I didn't know that I could get to this point in the process. I think I was doing the math. It's almost 1 million words just in the series. So, I mean, that was shocking to me that I made it that far in the first place. And then I was sad, right? Because I've spent years, with these characters, building them out, building their relationships. And I felt like, they're my children. So it was kind of sad, but I was also kind of excited because I got the opportunity to, kind of watch them mature and then put them in a position where, their life is not over. They have a lot of life left to live, but their mission, it's set.
Mission is set. Mission is complete. And how do you feel about how it ended? Was it, like without spoilers, like how did you feel about the final installment and kind of what can readers expect?
Oh, it is very excited. I finally got the opportunity to do a lot of the, I would say, kind of some of the stereotypical Florida things that happen in Florida. So that was very exciting for me. And it also gave me the opportunity to finally give some closure to a lot of the early things that I brought up in all the books. I kind of just hinted at them and kind of alluded to some of the struggles and things that the characters would have to kind of overcome. And then in this final book, I kind of, slapped them right across the face with them, one after the other, because that's really, no spoilers, but
just tying everything together.
Yeah, which was very exciting for me, because every time I was like, okay, check that off.
Yeah.
Resolve all the questions that came from very early on in the series.
Fantastic, man. That's really cool. And it's always a bittersweet thing to do, but it's good because I know you have more coming out of you. It may not be this series, but there's more coming,
Oh, so. Yeah. I'm already working on the next one, and the ideas constantly sprouting.
That's good. So about this final installment, Infused in Justice, like, so did you always have this particular ending in mind, or do you think that the storyline really evolved as you were going along and just kind of came out to a really natural conclusion? Like, was this something that you really had planned? You knew where it was going and you knew it was going to end this way, or what do you think?
I had want to say I had roughly 50% of the idea. You know, I knew where I wanted it to end. You know, that and to kind of moment for the characters.
Mhm.
But I really had no idea how it was all gonna kind of get to that point.
Hmm.
Again, there were a lot of kind of threads on this one, and I mean, this is a little bit of a spoiler, but there's actually multiple points of view in the story because of the scope that happens in this book, and it's very exciting for me to kind of give the reader a brief look into some of the characters that they've been through the whole story with so far, and how they kind of address and how their essentially how their magic contrasts with Ronan, the main character's magic. So that was very exciting for me to do, to kind of, you know, bring all the cohesive elements together.
Great,
So,
man.
And they took themselves to the end of the story, which is the most exciting thing about writing for me, is that you know, the characters kind of just they are alive in a sense, and then they write their own story after a certain point.
That's fun, man. Yeah, it's really cool when they just kind of practically leap out of you onto the page. You know, I think that's a really fun feeling. It's really cool. So on that note, you know, because you had mentioned that there's you know, a lot of emotion tied up in finishing a series, and I think that's true for anyone who's like finished. I would say really anything, like years long projects, anything like that. When you're done and you walk away from it, there's always that hard feeling. But would you say that the final book, writing the final book, do you think that was harder or easier than writing the previous ones? Because you had something to build on, but it was also a brand new thing. Right?
Yeah,
I
think actually for me, the previous book was harder than this final book, because I wanted to make sure that the groundwork, you know, the foundation was already laid, but I was building the bricks up for the finale in this one. And this is my longest book that I've ever written. So that was another milestone on the series.
Absolutely.
So that was the hardest part about that book. I
think this one came out to 22 hours and 22 minutes.
Yeah. So it's definitely, as far as my books, it was a monster, which is a good monster. People like long books, right?
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. It's a heck of a Leviathan, really.
Yeah. So that was the biggest thing for me with this book, and then obviously trying to take what I'd set up in book 5, and then, you know, really, you know, giving those resolutions in book 6. That was honestly the hardest part, because I wanted to make sure that, you know, it wasn't disjointed from one to the other, especially with the finale, right?
For sure. Yeah, and by the way, I just wanted to mention, so we are doing a giveaway here. I'm sorry, totally changed topics there, but I wanted to say, because there's you know, a couple people popping in. So I just wanted to say for everyone that's here, or if you're not, or if you're joining us a little bit after the show, leave a comment, do something nice, say something fun, be a part of the conversation, however you want to do, and we'll go through and send out. I think we were going to do 4 of the t-shirts from this series, so we have a really cool set of t-shirts from this. It is the Fievel. So there's a shirt from your series, and we saw it on the Mountain Dew Press website. It's called the Fievel Cotton t-shirt. It's really cool. It shows one of the characters and has a fun little tagline on there as well. So if that's something you're interested in, guys, just like leave some comments, leave some fun stuff here, and just be a part of the conversation. It'll be great. And yeah, we'll pick someone from a few of those comments, like 4 or 5 people, and send those out over the next few days. So that'll be cool. Yeah. So just wanted to throw that out there. So thank you.
Right in the middle.
That's right. Yeah. Right in the middle of a conversation, just like, oh, right. Remember this. Got to say it right now. Cool. Thanks to Troy, who says, I really enjoy your series. Appreciate you, Troy.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm glad to have people that have gone through all of the books. So I recognize your name. So I appreciate you making it all the way here to the finale, because it's exciting for me for sure.
Absolutely. Cool. Speaking of exciting, so what's a moment in this book that you're really excited for your readers to experience?
I'm really excited for people to experience what's on the cover of the book.
Ooh, that's fun.
There's
I like it. So it's like a good hint without being too spoilery. Nice, very nice.
yes. There's hints in the cover as to what it is that the characters are facing, and there was hints in some of the earlier books of what was coming in this book. But I finally got to pull the trigger on it, and people have told me that it's one of their favorite parts. So I'm very excited to hear other people's thoughts on it for sure.
Awesome, dude. That's great. Would you say, you have your main characters that have gone through the book. They've done all this stuff. They finally got to the end. They've completed their mission. How would you say that they've changed since the first book? Not just like power set. Like, do you think that the character themselves, the personality of them has really shifted over time?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a lot of that for sure, and it was a big adjustment for me as I thought more and more about the characters. Obviously, we're on book 6, so I'll talk a little bit about book 1. Hopefully, get people pulled in. So it had that kind of fallout start. They're coming out of the bunker. They're really, for the first time, experiencing the world and simultaneously experiencing, magic, right? So that's kind of like two kind of keystone parts of their life that has just kind of jumped on top of each other. And then I tried to make it such that their personal development kind of matched together with their magical development, right? Because in the system and in the world, the magic is really a reflection of who you are as an individual,
Sure.
which I think, people's personalities is like a magic that we have in the real world.
Yeah.
That's, you have sparks between people, you butt heads with other people, and that very much is what I tried to showcase as the characters developed. There's some maturing, there's some
budding
jadedness. Yeah, there's some jadedness that comes with realizing that unfortunately not everything is sunshine and rainbows. Especially when you're talking about a post-apocalyptic world, right? And that's a big adjustment, right? You come from a sheltered environment into basically a wasteland. I mean, it's a nice green, there's cool things and everything, but it's still a wasteland. And then you're trying to kind of carve your path through it. There are some inevitable changes, but I really liked putting, and I know this sounds bad, I really like putting the friendships of the main characters to the test, and then watching that grow, and then having those relationships expand, with the power of friendship. Just watching them expand was one of the really exciting parts for me.
Gotcha.
And mature. I mean, that's what the characters did. I mean, they were adults, right? But they'd never really become members of society until they had their own set of responsibilities in the apocalypse.
Sure. On that note, so would you say that there were any of the relationships? Doesn't have to be like romantic relationships, but like friendships, romances, rivalries, anything that took a turn that you kind of weren't expecting when you started with that character?
Yeah, I would say the biggest one was for the main character. He has a lot of interactions that are kind of abrasive just because of the power difference, and the power difference and the way that he's kind of had to put up with people for the benefit of others, right? And then I explored it a little bit in the previous books, but he makes some decisions in this book to no longer be abrasive to the ones that he cares about actively. Sometimes it takes you making an active decision to kind of really progress and find out who you are. And that started in the previous book, and then that really culminated in this one to put the character and really clarify it. That was really the biggest surprise for me, because I really thought that the main character was going to be forever cantankerous, but I'm glad he took a turn there for that.
That's good. That's good, man. So kind of evened out there personality wise. That's really nice. Was it like would you say that the main character's growth had anything to do with like your own personal maturation over the last few years, or just kind of like things that you've been experiencing? I know that you as an author have improved, and that is a simple fact because you have written more books. There's like if you're going backwards, that would be very shocking, right? So would you say that like part of them getting better and more fully fleshed out and having those personalities was more influenced just by you getting better at what you're doing as you went along?
Yeah, that was definitely an element of it for sure. Both simultaneously with my career as an engineer, and then through training with you guys at Mountaindale, really be more, I don't know, the word's not really proactive, but more intentional with the way that characters act. That was a lot of what I learned from the character perspective, because I've always been a system nerd, systems for different stories and ways of arranging mechanics. They just kind of just pop out of me, right? But characters always take a lot more care, personally, and I try to give those characters that care. And it really just putting more mind into the actions of the characters and trying to put myself in their shoes and said, okay, if I had to make this decision and if I had these things weighing on my mind, what would I do? Instead of saying this character would just act this way, right? Because there's a lot more stressors you're in the characters, right? And then trying to put yourself in their kind of headspace is a tough thing.
Sure. So putting yourself in their headspace, like you're saying, like getting to be a part of them and their character and their development. Is this a world that you personally would want to go into and like live through what's going on? Like if you had the opportunity?
I would do that. I mean, as long as I can just slide my family in with me.
Let's say you're there for like 3 weeks.
Yeah. Take a vacation for sure. I would take a magic vacation. But yeah, I mean, there are some dark elements to the world. There are some concerns, but there's also, you can take your future in your own hands, which is the biggest thing for the way that I designed the system that I liked, is being able to do that. The characters are really only limited basically by the amount of effort that they put in, right? And that was something that was shown early on in the series. Most of kind of the post-apocalyptic world stagnated, right? Because they were trapped in a cycle of not being able to act or not being able to expand. And then
so they couldn't do the effort.
Yes. Yeah. And then the main characters were kind of a catalyst. And then throughout the series, they continue to be that catalyst. Gotcha. And that's really what, propels them both in personal growth and in magical growth. Right.
Absolutely.
So I would love to be in a world, in a system, have that system to kind of break those bounds. Right.
Absolutely. And plus, I mean, knowing exactly how it works wouldn't hurt either. Right.
I mean, secrets, right? I don't. Secrets of the world, right?
Yeah. So question from the comments here. So from Paul, he says, was there something that you based your world system on, like your world or your system, anything that you based that on? Yeah.
So as far as the world, I was partly inspired by basically a magical version of the Fallout games. Yeah, so there was a lot of inspirations. There's obviously the humans that are in the series with the more fantasy touch, and then on the counter side is something very similar to like the ghouls that you would see in the Fallout universe, but they're magic based, and if you really get into the nitty gritty of it, there's a lot more complicated. But that was kind of the inspiration of it, and then obviously the main characters survived that kind of transition period of the end of the world by being in a bunker, right? So that bunker essentially insulated them, and then when they come out, then they start catalyzing change in the surface, right? Which is what essentially what happens in all the Fallout games is one dudette, however they get on the surface, and then they start just wrecking absolute havoc
Absolutely, they do.
on everything.
Cool. Well, since we started taking comments here, I just want to throw this out there for the people that are watching. Feel free to add some comments of your own. Feel free to chat, join in. We're gonna go for just probably a few more minutes here, but we're also doing I had mentioned this earlier. We're gonna do a giveaway for some of the cool shirts with a character from Frank's books. So talking about fans, two fans, what's a cool fan theory that caught your attention? Like what was a cool thing someone said that was either right or wrong? And if it was wrong, was it something that you're like, oh man, dang,
Yeah, well, it was really funny because I talked to a few fans, and they don't know what my other job is. They don't know that I'm an engineer for my other career.
Right.
So they were like, man, I think it was book 4. I built a bridge in the series just because why not, right?
We do.
And they were like, man, you're so descriptive with the way that do you know about bridge building? And I'm like, just a little bit.
It's a tish,
So that was really fun. And then obviously, we got into the conversation about engineering. I'm a civil engineer, so they were like, oh, that makes so much sense. And I'm like, yeah.
Oh,
so I really enjoy, splashing engineering into all of my
for sure
writing, right? Because I understand it and it makes sense to me, and I think it makes a lot of sense for a lot of people.
And oh man, I had a really good. Oh yeah, so I was thinking, maybe a good book for you in the future would be like Uncivil Engineer.
Oh God. Hey, that's they can be anti-hero, right?
That's right, yeah, or just impolite. So what's would you say that talking with fans, talking with readers, helped to shape your series over time?
Yeah, for sure. I've got a few characters that are inspired by some of my biggest fans. I've got an alpha reader that inspired several characters. She helped me a lot, catching stuff when I was through the writing process, because I'm just, hammering away in the word mines, and she comes behind and say, hey, you're missing a total word here. And then she'll help me out. And then I'll be like, you are fantastic. Thank you so much. And then I have a few fans also that were on my Patreon that, helped me come up with some of the key characters actually that happen throughout the series. So if you're listening, you know who you are. They definitely played a part in helping shape those characters, and really hearing people's interpretations of how they would want to develop in this world. That was one of the really exciting things for me, because what's most flattering that somebody want to inject themselves into this world that you've created, right?
Absolutely. Yep. And if for new readers who want to jump in alongside them, what do you think, is there anything that you think they should know before they get started reading? For instance, hey, just be prepared for awesomeness. Obviously, that's number one. Anything else that you're like, hey, this is a thing that you should get really excited about? Think elements that you think they'd love, things like that. What would help people to really just sink their teeth in?
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest things is just the way that the magic is flexible, right? So that you're going on this journey with the characters, you're going to be discovering magic as they discover magic. So that's one of the biggest things for me, is that I want my systems to make sense, and I want the characters to have these revelations together. And people have mentioned that, as they're reading the story, the characters have thoughts that normal people would have. Why is X, or why are you doing this way, right? And people have told me, it's like, that's exactly what I was thinking when I was reading this. And I think that's very flattering, and it's a good way of just getting right into it. And if you want big fantasy, big spells, lots of crafting, lots of development and clever applications of magic, that's the biggest thing that I tried for with the system and with the characters.
Fantastic, dude. That's great. Well, hey, that's pretty much all of my questions, but there's a couple from the audience I was hoping to get to.
Yeah.
And then we'll probably wrap her up and get on with the big party weekend. I hope you're going out and, like doing some fun stuff to celebrate completing a series, man. That's amazing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm going to sit at home and write the next series.
Oh yeah. Now we're talking. Oh man, I throw my own heart right there. All right. So just a couple of quick questions. From Ryan, he says, so on audiobooks, do you feel that your narrator elevated your work and like captured the voices you envisioned for your characters?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I told them as much as too. One of my favorite voices, and if you read any of the Metier books, you know that the prologues follow the main character's father, kind of in the past. So his voice and his presentation of that character is my absolute favorite. He does a fantastic job with all the other characters, but that journey and the way that he portrays that character is my absolute favorite. So yes, I think that the audio experience and the way that Austin does that is just fantastic.
Yeah,
I would highly recommend it. I don't normally do audiobooks, but every time I'm like waiting for the draft audio to come in so I can, just sit there listening to it and just like the dulcet tones flow through me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's just fantastic what he does too, man. So that's really cool. Cool. Yeah, and you're getting some comments on people hoping you're having a great weekend, all these fun things. And I agree. Yes, I think we should do that. But hey, so I actually think that's a really good spot to end, man. Like you just told us what to expect, great things to look for. You told us how your narrator captured voices. Like, I mean, that's all. That's just like end on the upbeat and just take it and go for the win, right? Cool. Well, hey, Frank, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for trusting us with your work and working with us over the last couple of years and getting these books happening and getting them going and completed. Like this is super cool. And you are one of the few people now in the lit RPG genre that can say, I finished my series. Oh
yeah. I absolutely love it. Like I said earlier, I just kind of still processing it. It's still a process. Because I've written books and I said, it's gonna happen, and then I just step by step. That's the way you make it happen. And I'm so excited to get to that crest.
Did it, man. Hey, congratulations again. And let's call it a night and a huge win. All right.
Fantastic.
So, good night, everyone. And thank you all so much. Check out the book on Amazon, on Audible. Again, it's Infused Injustice, the Metier Apocalypse. I'll add the links in to the comments of the show. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye now.
Bye.